Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am JaiDei, and I have with me my lovely co-host and colleague, Dr. Lamar Wine. And today's topic will be about self-care. And the reason that I decided let's talk about this again is that it's always needed. Definitely during the pandemic, there was a lot of conversation about stress and being overwhelmed. And I think now that we feel that we are, a little further away from the pandemic, I think people have returned to that normal behavior of working and not taking care of themselves in a way that's going to optimize them being their best self. And so I just want to touch on when we talk about self care, I'm wondering if people realize that it's multifaceted and it's just not one thing. It's all these different areas: the physical, the spiritual, the social, the intellectual, the let me look at my notes here because I did write them all down. Vocational, because I didn't want to forget it, because this is very important, because as I continue to work with clients and talk with women and men, I am noticing that they are falling short. So, Dr. Lamar, what are your thoughts about self-care? When you hear me say self-care, what was the first thing that popped into your head?
So I have a motto, and my motto is self-care is the best care. And the thing that pops into my head is a true and total honoring of yourself, regardless of what that look like. Because when I work with clients, they be like, self-care is overrated. I don't have time to go sit in the nail shop. I don't have the money to go do this. And I'm like, self-care isn't just about spending money. It's about spending time with the most intimate parts of you. It's about doing things that truly and genuinely brings you joy. Self-care could be sitting binge watching a movie. Self-care could be taking a bath. Self-care could be hanging out with your homegirls, eating some food that you didn't help to cook, right? Self-care could be having a crab leg boil and just chilling and laughing and telling stories, right? So self-care doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're spending a lot of money on to do, but it's really you spending time with the most intimate parts of the things that bring you joy. So those are my thoughts about self-care. I feel like I can be a little extreme with self-care, right? But that's just how I feel with it. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, it's very important to begin to understand that when we think of self-care, you're absolutely right. It's not just going to the nail salon or getting a massage. Those are a part of self-care.
Right.
But when we think today, what we're talking about is looking at like physical wellness. And I'm looking at, well, how often are you working out? How often are you getting adequate sleep? We forget that the lack of sleep thereof impacts our ability to take care of the things that are around us and to show up and be our best self. And here's the thing, people, you can't make up sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep throughout the week, you're not making it up on the weekend.
Right.
Your body is just always exhausted. So taking care of ourselves physically, even eating nutritiously, we don't think about that as self-care, but that's another part of self-care. What does your diet look like? Because when you're running on less than, if I don't get enough sleep, I might compensate by drinking more caffeine. That caffeine, as they say, too much of it is never good. So if I'm drinking more than a cup or two a day, because I'm now getting artificial energy versus allowing my food and the water and the sleep to energize me. So that's a part of self-care right there. And that's just under the physical, right? And I heard you talk about hanging out with friends and socializing and barbecuing or a good seafood broil. Like, yeah, that's a part of that social activity, or even going to some type of sporting event together or going to the museum. that is very important. Like having those healthy relationships is a part of self care. And I think when we got a lot going on, we began to neglect those things.
Right.
Before I just go down the list, what do you think just about the physical and the social that I talked about? Are you seeing that people are downplaying the importance of it and only getting it done like during the holidays? That's when they try to get all this stuff done, which then can create even more stress.
You know what I think? And this may not be fair to say, and I think I'm maybe thinking of myself too much when I say this, right? I think people who understand the importance of self-care understand the different components, like that physical, like that mental, like that mental physical self-care, like that psychological, like that emotional, like that. Like I think people who understand it understands the importance of spending time with the most intimate part of your body, like you just said, getting the sleep and hanging around with people. It was a funny story. We were hanging out this weekend, my husband and I, because we try to be intentional about doing little day dates, right? Nothing extravagant. And I think I want to create somewhere couples can try to create a date with spending less than $20, right? Like, what could you do that only takes $20? Because I think people feel like they don't do it because it's too expensive or they can't this or, but there's so many different things you can do. And we actually went axe throwing, which was ridiculous, but that felt like self-care to me. And when we left, my husband was like, babe, I didn't even realize I needed that, but that was good. Like, I enjoyed that. We should do that again. I'm like, that's not gonna happen. But I felt like that was self-care, because that was us spending time with each other and doing something that brought us joy. So
Yeah.
I do think that's important.
That reminds me of an article that I read that talked about, it was in Psychology Today, that talked about weekend recovery. And he says
Mm,
that weekend recovery is about doing something that you don't normally do in your day to day. And it
mm,
should be something different from the type of work that you do. So, of course, I work with clients all day throughout the day. So, something different for me would be sewing. Like
mm.
that's a recovery process, or painting, or maybe I don't think I would do this, but who knows? Like doing stand up comic. I would just doing an open mic, just showing up, and if I bomb, I bomb. But or carry like something outside of the norm, because
Yeah.
then that force it. Even if your body is exhausted, it still forces your brain to reset and recalibrate itself. And because that's the goal, it's about this reset and this recalibration. And I like what you said, like doing something that doesn't cost a lot of money, and
Mhm.
$20, you really can create some things
Oh,
that are like the parks are free. A lot of the museums are free or it is donation based. The other thing when I think about people, one of the things and the reason I titled this podcast Knowing and Growing is because I love knowledge. I'm always in a workshop, I'm always reading a book, I'm always looking at some type of virtual learning opportunity. And that intellectual stimulation is also a part of self care. What
mhm.
are you doing to stimulate your mind? Your
Mm.
mind, the capacity is vast. However, I don't think we use as much of it as we have the capacity to. And once again, how are you stimulating yourself? Outside of watching TV, there's nothing wrong with watching TV. However, at some point, it's not engaging. Is it can create dead energy. So it's important to begin to stimulate yourself intellectually for self-care. And vocationally, there are a lot of people that I meet that hate their jobs. And if you hate your job, that's a lot of energy that you're putting
Right.
into something that's going to drain you. So now, how do
Counterproductive.
you how do you then do something? Life is too short. I think the pandemic, if anything, from my perspective, taught us that life really is too short. Find your joy. And if what you're doing it does not bring you joy, then maybe you can find it. Because sometimes people go, I cannot leave right now. Well, find you another way to express what it is that you love. Part time, volunteer, like
Right.
there are ways that it can be done so that you are once again taking care of yourself. What do you think about those two
Oh my
things?
gosh, I love it. And it's so interesting that you said finding things that bring you joy when it comes to your work. Like some people chase money, some people chase joy. I'm a joy chaser, right? I'm like a joy chaser, right? If it's that's what I do. I don't, and I do enjoy money. Let's be clear. But I feel like when you're happy, the money will come. And I remember when I was graduating, getting my master's, I was talking to a group of licensed clinician therapist, and they were just saying, "What you want to do? What you want to go in?" Da, da, da. And they was going through this whole thing, and I was like, "I don't want to do therapy full time." They were like, "Well, you didn't get, you've gotten this degree. You need to do, Telling me, I want to do therapy full time." And I asked myself, "What is it that you want to do?" Like that was a question. What is the thing that brings you the most joy? And it was teaching, right? Teaching on a collegiate level. It's training. I love to train. Like I love educating individuals, which also falls in line with that teaching. And I also love therapy. And so I do them all, right? And I'm very intentional and very flexible with my schedule. To me, that's self-care, right? Giving myself a day when I didn't think it was possible, but it is when you understand the importance of creating a space for you. I want to kind of pivot and go back a little bit because you were talking about watching television, which this just came to mind. I want to share it before I forget it. You were talking about things that you can do for under $20, and this is some of the things that I share with my couple because this is so important. Not only should you have self care for yourself, you should also do things with your partner, which is very important. That could be a form of couple care, right? Right, and you show up better as a partner when you understand how to honor yourself. But the couple of activities that I want to share was a
Hold
fishbowl.
on,
Yeah.
because I like that, and I really think we should do a topic called couples care,
Mhm.
because they that is a missed opportunity. I just want to stay on the self care because we only got a couple more minutes,
Okay.
and there are two other areas that I want to touch on, and then I want to show the book that I got this information from. I want to give her plug because I am using some of her information to share with you all today. That spiritual piece I also want to touch on because I do meet in my line of work people when I ask them what are they doing and is spirituality or religion important to them. And so they do say that they pray or that they read their Bible, and that is a very good part of self-care because life does have more meaning than what we are being fed through the news and being fed through social media. We have to find the meaning for us, and that's that part of spirituality. And then the emotional piece, one of the things that I've noticed is we think that all our emotions should be good emotions, that and that we tend to not want to feel or experience any negative or painful emotions, but they're a part of life. All of them go together. You can't have one without the other. And so, what it is that to gather, I think the goal is to gather as much joy as possible so that when the painful emotions show up, you have something to actually fall back on. The joyful time creates like this nice landing for you that allows you to bounce back. The other thing about the emotions is that I'm surprised at how many people push down their emotions, that they don't allow themselves to feel. And what ends up happening if you got a wall up for the painful emotions, you also got a wall up for the joyous emotion. Because if you're not going to allow yourself to feel one, it's kind of hard to allow the other one to come in because you got this wall up. But the part of how this ties into good self-care is that you have to allow yourself to feel and experience and process. And if it becomes overwhelming, then that's when you can journal. If you don't want to talk to someone, or if you got a good support system, talk to your people. And I'm learning to, when it's my friends, I'm learning to say, how do you want me to listen to you? Like, what is it that you need from me so that I can then show up versus I'm not their therapist. So I don't want them to think I'm providing therapy to them. Also, if you don't have that network of or that resource, then get into therapy because therapy can help you process through those painful negative emotions. What do you think about those last two things?
I think it's all good. I think again it goes back to just honoring yourself and understanding that self care, regardless if it's mental, physical, spiritual, if it's leisure, if it's vocational, it reduces and or eliminate anxiety and or depression or depressed mood within the body. It reduces stress. It improves concentration. It minimizes frustration. It increases happiness. It improves physical health. It boosts self esteem. It prevents like mental, it protects against mental illnesses. Um, and it improves relationships. So, who can't benefit from self-care? And I know sometimes people feel like I don't have time because if I sit down and do something for myself, then I won't get an opportunity to finish the dishes or do this or do this or do this. In the same way that you prioritize everything else, you have to prioritize your self-care. Like make it a requirement, because no one can take care of you better than you. And when we teach, when we learn to take care of ourselves, we teach people how to take care of us and honor us. When we dishonor ourselves, we teach people how to dishonor us. So understanding the importance of self-care is so important. And this is the thing that I live by. You can tell when people say, I don't know, maybe I do, sometimes I don't. When you're an avid self-care person and you really believe in self-care, your friends, your partner will be like, oh my gosh, you going back to the spa? Or, oh my gosh, you get another massage? Or oh, you going out of town again? Or when they see that you're overwhelmed, they'll say, ooh, let's go out to eat if they know you, right? Or, oh my gosh, you need a massage. You know what? I got you a gift card to and so that is how you create space for you to be able to provide really good self care for you, and also for your community to support you in self care, and encouraging self care with your partners, with your friends. Like the same way that you want to be taken care of, you want to make sure that you can provide that space for them as well.
When you have summed up the whole show. So the book that I got the information from is the Self Care Prescription. I think if you want to get some more information about it, here you go. And as Dr. Lamar said, once you provide self care for yourself, then you can show up as your best self in all your environments. This has been Knowing and Growing. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.
Peace.